Well, I know you've enjoyed your dinner and about to enjoy your dessert, and with that, we have a little Gershwin for you. There's two tonight. The first is, let's see what the first is. I could have danced all night. Well, that hasn't happened for a long time. And then there's Summertime, which is great, but none of the faculty will be here. And but I do want you to know you will enjoy this. We have two UC Santa Cruz students. We have Naomi Wexler, and she's accompanied by Lucia Del Guerzo. Welcome.
I couldn't go to bed.
Please, another round of applause for both our students. Thank you so much. Naomi Wexler, Lucia Del Guarzo. Thank you so much. Well, welcome back. I've been asked actually to reintroduce myself because some of you missed it, and I'm Dr. Moira Gunn. I'm the host of Tech Nation and Biotech Nation on National Public Radio. Hey! And I'm also the director of the Business of Biotech program at the University of San Francisco in the School of Management. So these are all, I love everything you're doing at UC Santa Cruz. It's that simple, just that simple. I'm so honored to be here tonight. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to acknowledge a number of people here with us tonight. First, Chancellor Emeritus Robert Sinsheimer and Bill Lee, honorary co-chairs for this event. We have not one but two Santa Cruz City Council members, Catherine Byers and Hillary Bryant. The chair of UC Santa Cruz Student Union Assembly, Amanda Buchanan. Charles Canfield, Santa Cruz Seaside Company, and our host this evening at the Coconut Grove. The president of the UC Santa Cruz Graduate Student Association, Eric Green. The president of Cabrillo College, Brian King, President King. Our beloved Vice Mayor for Santa Cruz, Don Lane. Assembly member, Bill Monning. Santa Cruz County Supervisor, Ellen Peary. And chair of the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Mark Stone. And last but not least, Chancellor George Blumenthal and his wife, Professor Kelly Weisberg. The only bad news is that no one is at home in Santa Cruz and all of your houses are being burgled at this very moment. But this is a tremendous event, and the truth is that we all need each other to make all of this happen for each of us. And this is just a tremendous, tremendous celebration. It's not just being here, which is good enough, but it is achievement, it is service, it is scholarship, and we will certainly see these in all our evening's honorees tonight. In fact, we're fortunate to have several past honorees. Please hold your applause till I say all three names: Bob Sinsheimer, Cheryl Scott, and Paul Whitworth. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our beloved Chancellor. He's a professor of astronomy and astrophysics. This is his 39th year on campus, his 6th year as Chancellor. And I must say, with no further ado, I give you the man whose personal email is topbananaslug@gmail.com. Chancellor George Blumenthal.
Thank you, Moira. Boy, I better not read my email tonight. Well, I want to welcome you all here this evening to tonight's Founders Day celebration. For my wife, Kelly, and me, tonight's celebration has a very special meaning. As you may have heard, I recently had the opportunity to do some unanticipated reflection. Fortunately, what I had was fixable with a single procedure, and I was out of the hospital in less than a week. But here's the thing. What happened to me was easily fixed. But what's happening to higher education, in fact, public higher education around the country and to the University of California, is not so easily fixed. That's why now more than ever, we need your support for higher education and for UC Santa Cruz. Tonight's Founders Celebration is an opportunity to reflect on our founders' vision, to celebrate the successes of the campus, and to ponder our future and our future directions. Our founders' vision has served us well over the years, and it's made us what we have become today, one of the best campuses in the world. I'd like to talk tonight about the awesome developments that our founders never envisioned. We are engaged in amazing work. Indeed, Britain's Times Higher Education magazine recently ranked UC Santa Cruz third in the world for the impact of our research. We were behind only Princeton and MIT. Not shabby company. Let me give you a few examples of our leadership. UC Santa Cruz continues to dominate the discovery of new planets. We continue to propel the world's understanding of our human origins. And nobody knows Charles Dickens like we do. Just read the recent New Yorker article on the Dickens universe. We are also leaders, world leaders, in emerging fields like genomic-based personalized medicine. This high-tech assault on diseases like cancer is the promise of the 21st century. Tonight, we are honoring two great men for their achievements in cancer research, Art Levinson and Mike Bishop. You'll hear a lot more about them shortly, but now I want to say that their groundbreaking work, their work, set the stage for what's taking place today at UC Santa Cruz. Here we are decoding the genetics of cancer, the key to the development of personalized medicine. David Hausler, our distinguished professor of biomolecular engineering, has assembled a team that is quintessentially UC Santa Cruz. Brilliant, bike-riding computer geniuses who are changing the world. And that's not all. Across campus, our visionary faculty are bridging disciplines and using technology to enhance the public good. We're tackling ethical challenges by cross-training scientists and engineers in the humanities and social sciences. And we're taking computer gaming beyond entertainment, developing educational outlets for this new medium. Imagine creating interactive environments so real that we can help train firefighters how to enter a burning building. In digital arts and new media, we are taking social media beyond connecting friends and family and using it to empower citizens and revitalize democracy. This is UC Santa Cruz. We get remarkable results through our interdisciplinary culture and by involving students in research. You know that our vision has at its core an exceptional undergraduate student experience. You also know that today that experience is in jeopardy because of continuing budget cuts for the university. Well, I'm here tonight to tell you that we cannot allow these budget cuts to chip away at our excellent student experience. We cannot and we will not. Executive Vice Chancellor Allison Galloway and I understand that going forward, we have to operate the university in a different way. And we are. We are refocusing our efforts to ensure that students have the opportunity to graduate in 4 years or less. And we are revisiting our undergraduate majors so that we can create a curriculum that will serve UC Santa Cruz students and allow them to stand out in their in their applications for jobs, as well as their applications to graduate and professional schools. This is at the heart of the national discussion of higher education today, of public higher education today. Enabling students to graduate on time with a degree that is relevant and of value in today's global economy. Now, you've heard me talk about the challenges we face and how we're meeting these challenges. But I want to tell you that as a campus, we will not stand still. I embrace new challenges and new opportunities. In fact, I will embrace all new, or not all, but many new challenges. All would be interesting. Many new challenges as we move forward as a campus. Tonight, we recognize 5 very special individuals for the contributions they have made to make the world a better place. As we celebrate their accomplishments, I invite you to redouble our efforts to ensure the success of UC Santa Cruz. Thank you very much.
Wait a minute, now I've lost myself here. Thank you, Chancellor. I really mean it too. Now let's honor tonight's special guests. And I'd like to ask each of them to stand as I introduce them. So I hope I'm seeing the light, but I'm hoping you can see them. First of all, Alumni Association President Jerry Ruiz. He will be presenting the Alumni Achievement Award. Jerry, there we go. Then, of course, Chancellor Blumenthal will present the Faculty Research Lecturer tonight. And Ken Doctor, President of the UCSC Foundation. And he will be presenting 2 awards, the Fiat Lux Award and the UC Santa Cruz Foundation Medal. Ken? Where are you? I can't see you. Why do I think I can see you? But Jerry, first of all, Jerry, he'll tell us about the Alumni Achievement Award. Here we go.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Ruiz, and I have the pleasure tonight of introducing the UC Santa Cruz Alumni Achievement Award. And this award is given to an alumnus or alum who has, through either personal service to the campus or through personal achievement, has brought distinction to the campus. And many of you, like I did, probably Googled tonight's honoree, Julia Zweig, and you'll find videos on the web, such as YouTube's, I think there's a Stephen Colbert interview or two that you can find a little information about her, but I would direct you tonight to the video they're about to see and get the background and the official story on Julia Zweig, tonight's honoree. Thank you.
Please welcome the head of Latin American Division of the Council on Foreign Relations, Julia Zweig. Julia. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me back.
Listen.
The Council on Foreign Relations is a think tank. It's a publisher. It's known perhaps outside of Washington and New York as the sort of central elite institution of the American foreign policy establishment. So it's a little weird that a UCSC graduate has landed as the Rockefeller Latin America Senior Fellow. My role is to publicly add value to our understanding about the region and to try to push for smarter policies, which is very, very hard to do.
Well, one thing you can bet about Julia is that she anticipates the next big thing. And the next big thing in Latin America, or it's already the big thing, is Brazil. And Julia is now one of the foremost American experts on Brazil.
There was a course called Revolution and Counter-Revolution in Latin America, and it was taught by Saul Landau.
It's a seminar on U.S. foreign policy focused on Latin America.
Saul's course really, for me, launched my interest in Latin America. Saul sent a group of us from that course to Cuba. This was in 1984. And from there, my career definitively shifted into politics and foreign policy.
She responded with incredible curiosity and innovation.
My PhD dissertation was based on the presidential archives of Fidel Castro in Havana.
And she was able to get access to the state archives, which was quite a feat. Again, it requires a bit of imagination as well as determination.
Julia has been the go-to person on Cuban-American relations. And I might also add that the best thing about hearing about her and looking at her background is that she was a slug.
And so I think, she picked up from the very beginning using her education at UCSC and moving on through the PhD and then into the world, the really difficult world of policy in Washington, where she is today and still excelling.
It's a great piece of propaganda there that you've produced. Chancellor Blumenthal, thank you, and the chair of the Alumni Council and the others that were involved in finding a way to get me back to Santa Cruz. Let me extend my thanks to you. Everything that you said just now in your introductory remarks about the campus really resonated with me, especially, of course, the emphasis on undergraduate education. Because when I came here, Santa Cruz was the only college that I applied to go to when I was a senior in high school. I knew I wanted to come here, and I fortunately was accepted and came. Today, I'm very thankful to be here, very, very surprised. I'm here with my best friend, Jamie, who was a UCSC alum too, who's, of course, been central to making this happen for me in terms of my ability to produce and be in the world, but there are other people too, and I want to just take a minute to say that my mother is here, my father is here, my husband Reed is here, my nephew is here, Jacob. So we all know in this room that we never do anything by ourselves, so I wouldn't be here today without having them be here along the way and from the very beginning, including when my mother and I packed myself up from San Francisco to come down here, tied my futon on top of our car, drove from San Francisco, and we really weren't even past Daly City when the futon, I thought of, flew off the roof. But we made it anyway. The other person that's here tonight is Saul Landau, who you saw in the film. And please, Saul, I'm so glad that you're here, and you know, he embodies what I think the faculty at Santa Cruz can impart to young students. I'm teaching a course in upstate New York now, and I see these children that are 19, 20 years old, and I see them, and Saul must have seen me, and I was so fortunate to have him come and teach that course and teach another course, and to then send us to Cuba and to help me for the last 30 years to track a career that really was quite different from his own, but that nevertheless enabled me to think critically about a region, about the use of American power, and his ability to see young people in formation and to nurture that as an undergraduate is exactly, I think, what Santa Cruz was about and can and still and ought still to be about in the future, and I'm very much a recipient of that gift. So thank you, and thanks to all of you for having me here. I know my 90 seconds are probably going to end soon, so I'll just wrap it up there, and thank you all for having me tonight. Thank
you. Well, if you want to. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Watch your step. On behalf of Susan Gilman, who's the chair of the UC Santa Cruz Academic Senate, who couldn't be here with us tonight, it's my pleasure to tell you about the Faculty Research Lecture. This honor is bestowed each year upon a faculty member with an extremely distinguished record in research. The awardee is selected by a committee of faculty peers from across the academic divisions. And this is the only campus-wide award. It's not only the highest award, it's the only campus-wide award that we give for research excellence at UC Santa Cruz. So it is our highest research honor. This evening, I'm delighted to introduce this year's UC Santa Cruz Faculty Research Lecturer, Professor of Astronomy and Astrophysics, and my colleague, Steve Vogt.
I spent about 3 or 4 years, grinding a mirror and making a telescope tube and making a telescope mount out of an old automobile axle and building a dome in my backyard and making what's called an 8-inch Newtonian telescope. And those are actually some of my fondest memories of astronomy, is actually being out there with my own telescope, looking at the moon or the Ring Nebula or Saturn or something, just being out under the stars. And I was hooked at that point. I suddenly realized this is what my life was about. It just hit me out of the blue.
I had been hearing about Steve for many years, and as a grad student, and he was like a god on Olympus. You know, he was just somebody you heard about but you never saw.
Steve brings a number of, I think, really important aspects to our department. Perhaps the most important from the largest perspective is that he's a superb designer of instruments.
I began to realize that the best way to make progress in a field is to be able to build an instrument that can do something that no one's ever been able to do, and then use that to do the research.
And so his contributions go way beyond the individual research that he's doing, because the tools that he's building to carry out his work are being used by the rest of the astronomical community to really find out what's out there.
Yeah, so APF stands for Automated Planet Finder, and it's a telescope that will be used every single night of the year.
So it allows us to pick a handful of our highest priority stars that we've sieved from 2,000 stars that we've done at other telescopes and hit them every single night for months on end.
It'll start working on the star list and go through that all night long, close up at the end of the night, and then send the data on.
We'll actually be able to find potentially habitable planets, Earth-mass planets that would be the right distance from their star for liquid water to exist.
Steve has been working very, very carefully towards this goal of finding low-mass planets for the last, say, 30 years, and he's always been very focused, very hardworking, and always put this very meticulous care into everything he does. And you see that in his teaching, you see that in his research.
So it's not only the campus and the environment, but we have a really world-class research facility here. Lick Observatory and the Department of Astronomy is generally rated to be in the top 3 or 5 of all places in the world. So I was very fortunate to be able to come here and work with this great group of people at Santa Cruz. And it's been an amazing time these last 30 years here. Totally amazing.
Thank you, George. Wow, this is quite an honor for me. I'm extremely honored to be given this recognition by a group of colleagues that I respect so highly at Santa Cruz. I don't think a lot of you realize what an incredible place Santa Cruz is in terms of its just raw intellectual power. I mean, it's a funky little place up in the Redwoods, but no, it's not like that. There's some amazing things that go on here. Years ago, I think maybe even was when George first became the interim chancellor or whatever, and he talked about, what do we do here? What's our mission here? It's about creating excellence. That's really what it's about. It's about taking whatever you got and making it excellent. And that's been the guiding principle of everything that I do, and I've felt very, very fortunate to be part of this group of people that is working so hard in all these fields to do this. None of this gets done in a vacuum, and I stand on the shoulders of a lot of people. I would like to thank some of those people tonight. The first and foremost is my lovely wife, Sarmina. You know, the road, this kind of research road is not always clear and easy to follow, and there were some rough times when the road was dark and it wasn't clear which way to go, and where I might have lost faith in what I was doing and how I was doing it, and she never lost faith in me, and I thank her for that. I would also like to thank our 3 lovely children, Crystal, Alexander, and Sophia, for putting up with all those nights that I was out on some lonely mountaintop counting and sorting photons by the million to do what we do. And I'm sure it took a toll on the family, but I thank you for being there for me and being in support of that. I would also like to thank the directors of Lick Observatory. Bob Kraft, who was the director, was here tonight. When I first came in 1978, Don Osterbrock, who's no longer with us, but Irene is here tonight, and Joe Miller, and our present director, Mike Bolte. An unending chain of excellent directors who have kept Lick Observatory a solid place where this kind of research, which takes a long time and a lot of patience to come to fruition, can grow and thrive. It's not an easy thing, and they've all been masters at stewarding this excellence through Lick Observatory. And finally, I would like to thank all the colleagues that I work with closely at Lick Observatory. One of them is here tonight, Bob Kibrick, but we have a team of many dozens, even probably 50 or so, highly specialized, highly skilled technical people, computer programmers, engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, opticians and such, that I've had the privilege to work with shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow over the last 15 years, designing and building the facilities that allow us to, with our minds, reach out and find other Earths out there in the universe. And so I feel very fortunate to be part of that team. Thank you all very much.
Congratulations on that award. I am Ken Doctor, president of the UC Santa Cruz Foundation Board of Trustees. I particularly like the spotlight over here. These are our 3 awards. We get to give at least a couple, this year 3 awards every year to a few worthy people, and they are substantial, weighty awards. You can look at them and appreciate them. First, it's my pleasure to present the Fiat Lux Award. Each year, our foundation presents this award to alumni or friends of our UCSC campus who have demonstrated outstanding achievement, dedication, and service in support of the university's programs and goals. This year's honoree, a little known to me when I came to the campus in 1967, had already been working for 4 or 5 years in advance before the campus actually started to get ready for me, my class, and all the classes that have followed. So tonight we are very delighted to honor Hal Hyde.
My name's Hal Hyde. I was involved in trying to get the University of California to come to Santa Cruz County.
I do remember editor Scotchy Sinclair and my dad, Fred McPherson Jr., who were the editor and publisher of the Sentinel, seeing Hal Hyde come into the office several times, and he would come in and talk about the university coming here.
He just became a father figure of Santa Cruz. And then he reminded me of how my father worked with him in helping locate the campus.
Eventually, the Regents made a decision for this particular site, and in the meantime, I met Dean McHenry, and he asked me first to do some consulting as far as some of the local issues were concerned, and then later asked me to become the first Vice Chancellor for Business and Finance, and be responsible in the initial phases for all the non-academic aspects of the university. And that's how I got involved, and the rest is history.
One of the things that's passed into legend, and it has its roots actually in fact about the campus, is that before any trees could be removed on campus, any trees with a diameter, a trunk diameter of greater than 6 inches, they had to be personally approved and signed off by Chancellor Dean McHenry. And I think it's a sign of the confidence that Dean McHenry had in Hal, is that Hal was the backup guy when it came to signing trees. Now, I haven't talked to Hal about which trees he signed off on, but the campus really was in very good hands.
What he has done has provided an opportunity for thousands of people, students and older people as well, to get into the higher education system, whether it be the community college or UCSC.
He's one of the most giving persons I've ever met. And he doesn't do it by service in elected public office. He certainly would get elected.
Hal Hyde is a class act. He knew how to get across the message and to say, this is what the university will do for you. He is really a great PR guy, but a very smart guy and a very kind person.
I think it's very clear that Hal wanted to make sure that the campus not only got off to a good start, but continued in the way that it was intended.
And to have this university open and expand since 1965, I can't think of anybody more deserving of getting a Fiat Lux award than Hal Hyde.
microphone is yours.
Thanks, Ken and George, for this honor. Friends, George Blumenthal and I have both changed a lot since we first met in 1972. Where is he? Here he is. Please come stand by me here. He, a bearded hippie, newly minted assistant professor, and I then an active campus developer. Now look at us. George, a polished leader and statesman of our university and state, and I, a shorter, bent, octogenarian, old geezer. I'm grateful for this recognition, but accept it on behalf of the startup team that I was fortunate to be a part of. This was Dean McHenry's and Clark Kerr's dream that is maturing today. A dream of a team of faculty, staff, and students all signed on with their families to develop and participate in quality undergraduate education and move along with research and knowledge into graduate programs. On balance, it has been a wonderful success. The Hyde family together is grateful for the current major effort of the campus in cancer research. We have directly felt the burden of this scourge in the loss of Bob Puckett and Perky Hyde. It is dear to our hearts. The forum earlier today spoke of transforming the diagnosis and treatment of cancer, and our thanks go to those who were on this panel, and we wish to thank Bob Sinsheimer over here for the pioneer science research aspects he introduced onto our campus. Let us also acknowledge the enthusiastic leadership of David Hostler in this field. I will not comment on the variety of challenges facing our nation, state, and university circumstances. My daughter Chris has a sign that she will maybe hold up, and it says, "Sit down." I predict there is a bumpy road ahead, and our campus leadership will need all your help. I am most grateful for this honor, and I thank you, and Fiat Slug.
I also want to note that Hal, in addition to all of his other achievements, was a pioneer trustee. So those of my fellow trustees that are out there, and those of you who may become trustees, we only have 40, 45, maybe 50 years ahead of us of service to UCSC. Now we get to give out 2 more awards. It's my distinct honor to present the UC Santa Cruz Foundation Medal. And here we recognize individuals of exceptionally distinguished achievement whose work and contribution to society at large illustrate our campus's long-held almost 45 years now, Ideals and Vision. Hal mentioned the Foundation Forum this afternoon. I know a number of you were there. The topics were wide-ranging, from Hubert Humphrey, who we haven't heard much about recently, Chinese herbal medicine, the mysteries of the human body, as computed by one of our honorees, and how David Hauser's program has become one of the first trusted data partners of the federal government. It was a fairly amazing hour. So let me introduce tonight's honorees, Art Levinson and Mike Bishop.
Someone gave me a chemistry set when I was in around 8th grade probably, and the only thing of note I did with it was to try to make nitroglycerin. Fortunately, I failed.
When I was a little kid, probably 6, 7, 8 years old, I just found myself always interested in science, most probably in physics and astronomy. By the time I got to college, I realized I wasn't quite smart enough to be a physicist.
The discovery of proto-oncogenes by the research group that Harold Varmus and I were supervising was not an accident.
People were just beginning to understand how we could make use of molecular tools to understand a disease as complex as cancer.
Mike and Harold's fundamental discovery, for which they won the Nobel Prize, was of course the demonstration that within the mammalian genome, all of our cells, we harbor the fundamental building blocks of cancer.
From the start, Mike and I recognized a kinship, a love of literature and history, as well as an interest in using the new tools of the emerging field of molecular biology to try to understand cancer at its fundamental level.
Mike was just a major figure in my life. The science that came out of his and Harold's lab was always fantastic.
Mike displayed during his years as chancellor a remarkable sensitivity to the needs of the community in San Francisco, the state of California, and the nation with respect to the development of science at the University of California.
What Mike did was to really help spearhead this whole concept that every cancer is unique.
That's what personalized medicine is, evaluating the individual's susceptibility. In the case of medicine, it's will the disease respond to the drug?
Regarding the intersection between academia and the business sector, it's a very, very tight linkage.
Art Levinson's a remarkable individual. I got to know him because he worked as a postdoctoral fellow with me. He had just gotten his PhD. It wasn't too surprising to me when he came and asked whether he thought it would be okay if he went and worked in this small startup company, Genentech. And at that time, cancer was not regarded as a promising market. Art didn't buy that. He worked within the company to foster an interest in cancer, rose to leadership responsibility quite early, and became one of the most successful CEOs in the history of the biotech industry.
Art was really the one who made Genentech a great place to work. People at Genentech come to work with the idea that we're going to come in and try and make a difference in patients' lives, and we're going to try and help people.
The secret to success, I think, is his ability to keep two things in mind. One, the bottom line, but two, the science.
You find many, many people who are terrific scientists. I think you find many people who are great leaders, but that it's extremely rare to find one person that's both.
The mechanism that Art discovered is the underpinning for one of the largest new categories of drugs out there for cancer.
He's remained, in spite of all of his success, a very humble person, which is something that we all really appreciate.
Science is an amazing discipline if you're so inclined. There's just some profound questions out there, and going through the process of trying to understand the answers to these questions is, at least for certain people, immensely satisfying.
I'm proud to have been associated with Art, and he's a wonderful person as well.
Mike was just a major figure in my life, a very smart guy, and was always found a way to ask the right question.
If you've got a heretical idea, you'd be well advised to put some time into testing it, because most of the time great discoveries start out as heretical ideas. Well, thank you very much. Let me first say what a privilege it is to be, and a pleasure to be honored in concert with Art, who is plain and simply one of the most remarkable individuals I've known, and was a sheer joy to have as a junior colleague in the laboratory. I'm very proud of him. Now, this is not an ordinary moment. I'm ahead of you, George. I've been here 43 years. In my 43 years with the University of California, it's been clear that the various UC campuses view each other with mutual respect. We appreciate the particular virtues of each of us, but it's also true, I think, that we tend to take each other for granted. So for me to be recognized in this way by a sister campus of UCSF is a singular honor for which I am very grateful. Now, I have some reasons to feel attached to UC Santa Cruz, beginning with my earliest impressions. When I arrived at UCSF in 1968, UC Santa Cruz was just emerging as a visionary experiment designed to create a campus that excelled in research and scholarship, but also held teaching on an equal footing and sought to retain the virtues of a liberal arts education. And I admired that because I had studied at a liberal arts college, and I have felt blessed by that ever since. Our older son did his undergraduate and graduate work here. Our first grandchild spent his early years near Nobel Drive while his parents studied here. And his paternal grandmother essentially became a commuter between Marin County and Santa Cruz. As we were driving in this morning, she was trying to figure out where that Safeway was that she had shopped. And incidentally, that left me to fend for myself, something at which I do not excel. Now, I've known all but one of your chancellors, and I've regarded each with affection and esteem. But I'm especially grateful to George for explaining dark matter to me in a manner that I could finally understand. And he and I have agreed that dark matter is a suitable subject for study by chancellors because they have to deal with dark matters. Hoping that none of them will ever see the light of day, let alone the front pages of the local newspaper or cyberspace. Now, it was last Saturday evening when I learned that UC Santa Cruz had been named third in the world for the impact of its research. Now, this did not surprise me. And since I am no longer chancellor of UCSF, it also did not bother me. So it is that I'm very grateful for this honor. I feel that I've been credentialed by a very special place. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Chancellor Blumenthal and the Foundation for bestowing upon me this wonderful honor. It's a particular privilege to share this with Mike Bishop. I was a fourth-year graduate student when I read in 1976 the paper that came out by Mike and Harold that described the fundamental observation that led to their Nobel Prize, the observation that within the genome of all of us lie these genetic sequences that harbor the potential to cause cancer, and instantly revealed the very likely mechanism for cancer. And when I read that paper, I went to my PhD advisor, Arnie Levine, and I was completely clear in my head that it would be just fantastic if I could be accepted into Mike's lab as a postdoc. And fortunately, Arnie knew Mike, and somehow very quickly Mike accepted it. So unlike most grad students who kind of ponder for months, sometimes years, about where they want to go, it was completely clear after reading that one paper that I wanted to be in Mike's lab. And I had the enormous privilege of being able to spend 3 years in that lab where I learned what it meant to do science with rigor, integrity, and probably most of all, an amazing intensity. If you weren't intense, you didn't really fit very well into that lab. I've then moved, and for the next 30 years, I spent it at Genentech. I came and spent about the first 15 years doing science, and then the last 15 years as CEO. But I came armed with an arsenal of wonderful reagents and probes from Mike. I think nothing characterizes Mike perhaps as much as just his generosity of spirit and his enthusiasm and just passion to see his students do as well as they can. And he made all these reagents available. One of those reagents was an oncogene from an avian virus that allowed the scientists at Genentech in 1982 to clone the human homologue of this avian virus that caused a type of leukemia in chickens. And it was that very probe that pulled out the human homologue, which turned out to be the HER2 gene, and it's the HER2 gene that is amplified in a quarter or a third or so of women with breast cancer. And that particular gene makes a product in those women with breast cancer that we were able to attack with the drug Herceptin. So without, again, that generosity of spirit from Mike, if Herceptin came along, it certainly very likely would have come along by somebody else at a much later period in time. To the extent I'm getting this award, it probably reflects the contributions from the company in terms of the therapeutics that we've developed that we like to think was based on a lot of basic pie-in-the-sky science in the early stages. But all that work is obviously a function of efforts from thousands of scientists and clinicians and lots of other people. Also, the willingness of patients to literally put their lives on the line, to line up to be able to test the drugs that really, at that point early on, nobody really knows if they're going to work or not. So I accept this award very gratefully on behalf of all the great employees of the company and the patients who put their lives at stake. So thanks very much.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations, Mike and Art, and congratulations to our other honorees as well, Julia, Hal, and Steve. You know, our 5 awardees this evening have all done amazing things and made contributions which further the values that we hold dear at UC Santa Cruz. And I want to say to these awardees, thank you for your contributions, and especially thank you for your inspiration. From our earliest days, when the UC Santa Cruz campus was but a twinkle in the eye of dreamers who wanted to do something that would make a difference, a positive difference in the world, to today, when our impacts span the globe and even extend to the stars, I think it's awesome what we've been able to accomplish in just 46 years as a campus. And we still have aspirations. Nobel Prize sounds pretty good to me. Well, on that note, before I turn the microphone back to Moira, I want to thank you all for being with us this evening and joining us in tonight's Founders Day celebration. Thank you.
You know, it's a great pleasure for me to be here. I have to tell you that the first job I had out of graduate school when I got my PhD is I came to work at NASA. And I got to work with a couple of people who were in the very first class here at UC Santa Cruz. And I just remember how so frequently they would talk about how the entire university would all get on the, well, they meant the students, would get on in the meadow, and they'd all dance together and all run around together. And just the fondness of spirit they had about what it was like. And in so many ways, that sense of community clearly has never left. So let me applaud UC Santa Cruz. And let's one last round of applause for Julia Zweig, Professor Steve Vogt, Hal Hyde, Art Levinson, and Mike Bishop, and of course, our Chancellor, George Blumenthal. Have a safe trip. We'll see you next year.